The following podcast is a part of Rediscovering America.
Cruise, resort, vacation.
Do you love to cruise? So do I. I'm Zee Michaelson from the J&Z Show on ZMAX Radio.
Booking,
Reservation, family, fun, memory.
All of this and more on this edition of Zee Michelson's Travel Podcast, as she helps you rediscover America. Welcome once again to the Zee Michelson Travel Podcast as we are rediscovering America. I'm Jay Lawrence, and of course with me is your travel guide, Zee Michaelson.
I am here, and yes, we are rediscovering America in a big way.
Now, why are we rediscovering America? Don't we know where we're at?
Well, we know where we're at, but a lot of people don't realize, one is how big America is, and two is everything that America has to offer.
Oh, that's great.
You know, from cities to country to the people to the different delicacies in different areas. It's so much fun.
That's great. So, we are rediscovering America in the state of
Utah.
All right.
Yes, we've been talking about Utah for the past few podcasts.
And the weeks before that, we talked about Rhode Island,
Rhode
which
Island.
was amazing to discover some things that are happening
Right,
there.
that was a little state packed with a lot of stuff.
And so we'll have a traveling trivia question.
Yep, we're going to have a traveling trivia question today.
Will I know the answer?
If you were listening to the last podcast, you will.
Oh, is that part of the clue? And we're going to be talking about ski resorts today. I think you said that last time. What?
No, I said we're going to be coming up on one of our podcasts. We're going to be talking about ski resorts, but not today.
Next week?
Yeah, I'm going to keep you waiting.
Because I'm getting my skis polished. I want to.
Going to wax up those skis, are you?
I understand that you can ski in the state of Montana. Not Montana. What am I?
Well, you can ski in Montana. You can ski in Utah, too. And in Colorado and in New York. There's lots of ski places.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got my mouth got ahead of my brain there.
Well, yeah, because you're getting closer to Montana with Utah, so I guess you got excited.
So let's explore something else besides, let's see, last time we did the national parks.
Right, last time we did the national parks. Now we're going to go to the city because, I'm a city girl.
Right.
I love the cities.
You look at the pictures on the internet. You go to Utah and you look at all the pictures. You don't see many cities to start with.
Well, you do, but you don't, because the cities are all surrounded by all the beauty of Utah, which makes it even more exciting. And, if you have a lot of time on your hands, you might want to travel around in an RV and explore more of these little areas.
That might be a good idea. Is that something that you would consider?
I love to go in an RV.
Do you?
Right. I've been in an RV several times.
Yes.
And I enjoy it. You have little campgrounds that accept RVs willingly and lovingly, and there's so many different things to do. And I'm getting all choked up. Now, there was a movie with Robin Williams called RV.
Yes.
I experienced some of that insanity many, many, many years ago. But RVs are so easy.
Really?
Right. One is you don't need a big CDL license to drive some of them.
That's good.
And you can drive your RV or your borrowed RV, because there's a lot of companies that will rent RVs out there. You can drive the RV, you go to the parks, and it's almost like a little community of people that all kind of say, oh, you're in our community, and they kind of help you. There's a bit in the Robin Williams movie where he's emptying the toilets and stuff like that, and it all kind of blows up on him. I had that fear in my head when me and a friend of mine, here's two women on the road, and we're thinking, oh my God.
I think you went north, didn't you? Yes.
We went north. And I thought, oh, this is going to be, what happens if this happens? But it was so easy, it was just zing, 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 and you just did it. It was simple. So it's kind of like being your own little turtle. Go in an RV and explore more of the United States.
Okay, now I've got one other side note there. Have you seen We're the Millers?
No, I've never seen that movie.
Speaking of RVing experiences.
Did they have another crazy experience?
Well, yeah. So if you haven't seen that movie.
Right. Nothing like putting a bunch of people in one RV and seeing what happens.
Right, especially if they're not related, but they pretend to be.
Hey, I hear a new show.
Yeah. No.
J&Z on the road with their families. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, so I thought you said we're going to be talking about cities in the state of Utah. Instead, we're talking about RVs on the road.
Right, because you can get to these cities in an RV.
Where do you park it when you get there?
Right. Well, there's lots of places, but we'll talk about that. Maybe I'll do another show just on RV rentals.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now let's talk about cities in Utah.
Okay.
Everybody's heard of Salt Lake City.
Yes.
Everybody. You know, whether you know the state or not, you say Salt Lake City, everybody goes, oh, Utah. It's Utah's capital. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it spent most of the 2 centuries watching the rest of the country's big cities grow up around it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Salt Lake
I got
City,
all choked up.
I know. Salt Lake City is laid back. It's kind of nice that it's kind of laid back. It's like a laid back Seattle is what they're referencing. I've been to Seattle and I've been to Salt Lake City. I'm not sure if it's laid back like that, but hey. But it's also sunny there 5 days a week in Salt Lake City, where Seattle, it's a little rainy.
No, as I recall, I probably was driving on Interstate 70, going over into the mountain, and you drove into seeing Salt Lake, and it's the city set by the...
The city is down. It's set down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it sits on the lake.
Right. And in Salt Lake City, you have everything that you expect there. You have theaters. You have restaurants like New York. Yeah, you can get. It's not as expensive as New York, which is one of the big things. It got mountains, like Geneva, like you just said. You was driving through it and you seen it down, so you actually seen that.
We're into the valley.
They actually have 4 pro sports teams. Can you believe that? 4 of them. And they have 4 ski resorts, 3 freeways. You mentioned 70, and I believe 80 is a little further north.
Okay, that's probably up.
And they call it the 12 Apostles. And everything you need and nothing you don't. So if you want a city, Salt Lake City. And like I said, I love cities.
Okay, so what's some of the things now, you can do outdoors?
Outside of the city, when you're outside, it's they call it peaceable, which is, to me, there's not a lot of competition amongst the cityers. It sits in a mountain bowl, which you had just talked about. It's 4,300 feet up, with immediate access to all forms of adventure, such as skiing.
Which you mentioned.
It's 45 minutes from Salt Lake International Airport, which is really good, and it has about 10 more outside city limits. You know, so the airport's pretty close. You have slanty canyons to go and visit, hundreds of options for biking and hiking and climbing and camping. A great salty lake to the west for boating and floating. Now if they say floating.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in something that's so salty?
No.
Couple of things.
Yes.
One is your skin will feel very soft when you get out.
But
2 is the salt factor makes you float better.
Well, I knew that.
And here's something for you, Jay.
Yeah.
There's golf.
I was going to say, is there any golf available?
Now, this is everything outside. And again, we're in the city. We're in a city and you can do all this stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of exciting. You know, you cannot ski in New York City.
No,
you can't ski in New York City. So, but you can here in Salt Lake City. Now, indoors in Salt Lake City, there are plenty of things to do indoors. Concerts, from venues that'll hold only about 20 people to 20,000 people.
Wow.
So you can have those little acoustical concerts that are really cute to go to. I've been to quite a few of those. And then really the big crowd where you can really get involved. You have restaurants all over, which is really good. And so if you're really a foodie, you really want to start checking out some of the restaurant scene. And they have smaller market prices. Blockbuster theaters, so you can see all your latest movies that you want to see. Art houses, ballet, opera, orchestra. I used to love to go to the opera. I used to work in the opera.
A numerary.
Supernumerary.
She was a supernumerary.
So they have all of that. Museums. I love museums and all different types of museums. They have basketball, soccer, baseball, and hockey. Those are their pro teams. So you can get your sports fix. Because I know my daughter loves to watch sports, and you can get it all here.
Now, don't forget The one, the only.
Temple Square.
Right.
Which is Gothic and granite, and it is
The
tremendous. It's the headquarters. I'm going to try to post a picture of it on my blog because to see it, it's very majestic, you know. So you definitely want to at least see it.
I know when I drove into Salt Lake City,
Right.
that was one place I wanted to go to.
Right.
And I know this has been a couple of years ago. It's way back in my memory.
Right.
I know I've been there. Can't remember it, but I've been there.
But you've been there.
Yeah.
So now with the Temple Square, it's more than a religious icon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's very fascinating. It's the history, the architecture, gourmet dining. Gourmet dining. It's the most popular tourist destination.
Bingo. See, that's
Yeah, right. Part of the appeal lies in its accessibility. It's 3 blocks in downtown Salt Lake City, and it contains nearly 20 attractions related to the Mormon pioneer history and genealogy. Now, I am not Mormon, but I love to reach out and see other religious groups to see how they started, to see what goes on, and the history behind it is amazing. Okay, so it includes the Salt Lake Temple, the Tabernacle, and the Family History Library, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And that means you can see all or most of these attractions in a relatively short period of time. So if you're in Salt Lake City, you can go right down there and check it out.
That's what I did. That's what I did when I flew in.
Right. So they say the Salt Lake Temple, the building is a worldwide icon. And like I said, I'm going to try to post it on my blog because, you know, pictures just don't do it justice to see this building. It's the icon of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints and the heart of Temple Square. Now, we're not promoting any in particular religious background, but this is basically what Salt Lake Temple is all about.
Right. And then,
it's a massive granite edifice, which is constructed in a neo-Gothic style over a 40-year period of time. So it took from 1853 to 1893 to build this facility.
now, you got to be aware of the fact that you got to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to actually enter the temple.
Right. But all around it, they have all this other stuff going on.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you know, a Catholic church where you cannot go and see the communion at the Mass, they say. But you can go in and around, and they have things that you can tour around the facility. But the actual temple itself, where they do their actual worship, that's, you know, off limits. Oh, now.
Yes.
You know me. I'm always trying to find my genealogy and look up my family history. And I have not been very successful. I'm getting all choked up just talking about my genealogy.
Would you like to learn more about that?
Okay. Now, the Latter-day Saints Genealogy and Family History Library, not a lot of people realize that this facility is the largest genealogical library in the world, with copies of the original records, including the names of more than 2 billion deceased people. 2 billion deceased people.
Now, are they all voting at the same time?
Right. They're all voters. They come from literally all over the world to search this library. And I have been in that website trying to track my family history. And no, you don't have to be a member of the Church of the Latter-day Saints to do it. The library itself was founded in 1894. And they gather all this genealogical records, and they assist members of the church with their family history, and that's kind of how it started. The current history library was dedicated in 1985, and get this, it's 142,000 square feet on 5 floors.
Wow.
Yeah. The public collection includes 2.2 million rolls of microfilm genealogical records. And like I said, they're not just members of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. So if you are looking to do some genealogical research, I would start there because that's great. The information is available. It's extremely impressive and astounding. And like I said, it comes from all over the place. They have records from the United States, Canada, the British Isles, Europe, Latin America, Asia, Africa, Australia. The majority of these records contain information about persons who lived before 1920.
Wow.
And that's how come I started, because I was looking for my grandparents, and they were born in like 1902, 1904, 1906. So I was looking at that.
Wow. So there's a lot to be learned if you went to the library.
And this is for genealogical. So there's 230 full-time and part-time professional staffs that can also help you.
That's very good. Now, can we break away from the library? Can we break away? Because I would think it's time for the traveling trivia question.
Speaking of learning, let's go to trivia.
Yes.
You always want to go to the trivia question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were listening to us in our last podcast, we talked about Zion National Park.
Right.
Okay. Now, Zion National Park had a meaning. The name meant what? Was it Heavenly City?
I had to raise my hand there. Okay. Yes.
God's Needle?
Uh-huh.
Or Angel's Peak?
Oh, right.
So Zion National Park, Zion meant either Heavenly City, God's Needle, or Angel's Peak.
The traveling trivia question could be answered by you, and you could win something. Well, you could win the
Pat on the Back Award.
Yeah. We're going to be talking more about Utah, shopping, great things happening in Utah when we come back. Until then, I'm Jay Lawrence.
And this is Zee Michaelson, helping you rediscover America.
Hi, I'm Mary Van Dyke, and I'm rediscovering America. I know big stories can happen in some of the smaller towns right here in the USA, and you can learn more about small towns in America at livability.com. If we missed your hometown and you want to share it with others, just send me a note at the bottom of our website, rediscoveringamerica.com. Until next time, I'm Mary Van Dyke, helping you rediscover America.
Zee, I understand you are a travel agent.
That is correct.
You're not only a popular host of a podcast, broadcaster for many years, but a travel agent.
Yes, I became a travel agent because I love to travel, so it helped me.
Rediscover America.
And I would also like to be able to help you.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, now how can you help me?
Okay, well, first of all, you can go to my website. That's ZeeMichelsonTravel.com and look for the trip of your dreams. Or if you were just looking to have a cruise, you can do that. In our last podcast, we had discussed, taking an Alaskan cruise. One of the things I would love to do, I haven't done it yet, is to take a transatlantic cruise.
Oh.
Which is also very popular in the summer months.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take them out of several different ports.
Such as?
One is out of New York City.
Uh-huh.
The Cunard lines will take you over to England. And then down out of Fort Lauderdale, we have another line, a couple of different lines that will take you over into the areas of Spain and Portugal, over in that region.
Now, how long is a transatlantic cruise?
It takes approximately, and I'm going to say approximately 5 days based on the routings.
Uh-huh.
So,
now, is that the time it used to take? I mean, back in the day?
Back in the day, it used to take almost 2 weeks.
Really?
So the boats are a little bit faster because they're more, they have more technology on it.
Uh-huh.
They're also a little bit more hipper to what's out there, so you don't have the Titanic
phobia
situation.
Yes.
And that's another show we're going to talk about because they have remade the Titanic.
No kidding.
Yes, they have remade the Titanic.
Oh, my goodness.
But when you're looking at a transatlantic cruise, which my daughter was lucky to go on one, my daughter travels as well, and she traveled from New York to England. Everything, people say, oh, you're going to be on a boat for 5 days. There's nothing to do on a boat. Get with the program. Boats have a ton of things to do on board.
Well, it seems like that's a better, to me, it's a better idea because instead of going cruising the Bahamas, you go and you come back, you got a destination to get to.
You actually go to a destination. Now, to let you know that if you decide to go transatlantic, you usually go transatlantic on ship there, but then you fly back. So that's a little bit different.
So who comes back on the boat? Who comes back on the boat?
People with lots of money.
Oh.
Sometimes, because what they'll do is they'll go on the boat.
So it's a reverse for
right,
them.
and they'll stay there for a couple of weeks, and then they'll jump back on the boat coming back because the boats will go back and forth. So that's one of the things you have to look at. And again, you have a window. I keep talking about this window of time. They don't do transatlantic sailings in the middle of winter.
Oh.
So
yeah.
They do it more towards. Now, some little tricks of the trade is if they're relocating a ship, you sometimes get good price points.
Oh.
So if the ship was in Greece for a while doing the Greek islands and now it's going to go from Greece to the Caribbean, you can get a little better price point coming back across. So they do certain things like that.
Now, is there a price point, and you're talking price points here, you can't really say the
I can't,
dollar.
yeah, I can't.
But I'm on the ship, and I go across, and then I fly back. Is
Right.
it the same cost, basically, or flying back is cheaper or more expensive? Which is...
It all depends.
Okay.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're looking at. I mean, I know that you and Honey were looking at a type of cruise for the river cruises.
Right.
And there were some stipulations that Honey wanted, which made it a little bit more costly.
Right.
When you're looking at more amenities, like you want this and that and the other thing, it's going to be a bigger price point.
Okay.
If you want to go business class as opposed to first class, as opposed to coach, you got all those different things.
All
involved.
right.
But that's a fun thing. Again, look at those time windows.
Okay, so how can you help me? What would I do?
Okay, well, go to my website, ZeeMichaelsonTravel.com.
How do you spell Z?
I know a lot of people have trouble with that because they think it's just the letter, but it's actually Zee Michaelson.
Now, see, my name is spelled J.
Right. But people don't think it's the letter. They automatically write Jay. But
Right.
for Z, they for some reason just want to write Z, like Zorro.
Right.
And I'm not Zorro.
So
I'm
it's
not good at a sword.
Zee Michaelson.
Travel.com, and they can actually surf my site. It's very easy. You can pick and choose. You can look at it. Nothing's going to be booked for you until you contact me, so you don't have to worry about that. A lot of people say, oh my God, I can't click on this because then it's going to book me. No, it won't book you until you talk to me.
All right. Well, let's get back to the traveling trivia question. See,
You remembered.
It's in my head. I remembered, yes.
So the question was, Zion National Park, Zion had a meaning. Was it Heavenly City? Was it God's Needle? Or was it Angel's Peak?
And I know the answer.
You know the answer because you listened last week. I'm very proud of you.
I'm also a biblical scholar. Understand the answer would be, I'm listening out there because yes, the answer is
Heavenly City.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's what Zion stood for.
All right.
So, yeah. So, see, there's so much to do, so much to learn in these great United States of ours. And that's what we're attempting to do here, Rediscovering America.
Okay, if I'm in the state of Utah and I'm in the city of Salt Lake, is there any shopping to be done?
Well, actually, the shopping is in the City Creek Center.
Yeah.
It's world-class fashion and dining destination. People don't think Utah has world-class fashion and dining. But it offers 110 retailers, restaurants, including some that I shop at, Nordstrom's, Macy's. Yay! They got Brooks Brothers and Michael Kors and, of course, Coach. I have Coach. You got the Brio Tuscan Grill and lots and lots and lots of that kind of stuff. The unique shopping environment features a retractable glass roof.
Woo.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah. And
a creek that runs right through the property. Hence the name City Creek Center.
Bingo.
See how that works? They have a pedestrian sky bridge.
And it's just 10 miles.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Well, 10 minutes, 10 miles from the airport, right?
Right. And it's a must-see. If you're over in that neck of the woods, you definitely want to go there. With all the history and shopping that you're going to want, you're going to want to eat there. You're going to want to shop there. Salt Lake City appeals to many, many, many different people.
Now, there's not many cities in the state of Utah. I mean,
there are tons.
Well,
of
there's
cities.
towns, but okay. So the second largest city would be what?
Well, we're gonna go to Ogden.
Okay.
Because people have heard of Ogden, Utah before.
Yes.
Okay, so Ogden is a center for skiing and adventure sports. Now, when I hear the word adventure sports, I'm going to talk about my daughter. My daughter she was living in Colorado for a while, and she went to the extreme sports event that's in Colorado. I don't know how people do that.
Oh, I don't either.
I don't know. But apparently they have skiing and adventure sports in Ogden. It's located about 40 miles due north of Salt Lake City. So it's not that far.
No.
Okay. It's the gateway to the Snow Basin and Powder Mountain ski resorts.
Whee!
So I told you I'll touch a little bit on skiing, but we're going to talk about more skiing in another show.
Get those skis ready.
Right. Get them ready.
Actually, we better get out there because the snow's melting. Come on.
It's gonna be around for another couple of months.
Okay.
Yeah. Historically, Ogden was the major player in the development of the Transcontinental Railroad with the Golden Spike National Historic Site. That's where they drove that stake.
Yes.
Yes. And it completed the Central Pacific and Union Pacific Railroads. I watch all sorts of shows, and I seen all the thing that went into it. What was it called? I was telling you the other day, that show with how America was made. With
Right.
You know, Carnegie and all of those guys. Yeah.
But when they melded the two railroads together, it was the beginning of the end of the American frontier.
Right.
Because you could go cross country.
You can go cross country a little bit easier than on those wagon trains.
Yeah.
Oh, now I don't know if you've ever seen it there, and we'll have to talk about this in length later on. There is a wagon museum here in the state of Florida. It's like all the coaches and when I take a look at these stagecoaches from years gone by, you see it on the movies with John Wayne and all the other guys, and they look tremendous.
Just not quite as romantic, is it?
And then you see it in real life, and you could not get two normal adults in these things these days.
No.
And they had to travel. You know, you have the women with all their fluff of dress,
right?
And you had the men and there was no air conditioning to speak of. I mean, how did they get across? You have to look at these American pioneers.
And how did they get the cameras in the stagecoaches?
Right. How did they do that? They wouldn't have been able to do anything. But I mean, if you look at the real American pioneer and look at what they went through to get across the country, it's amazing. So that's why, you know, people talk about the Americans always have a little bit of an attitude. And it could be because of the way we started. We started, you know, in a rough and tumble situation. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we'll talk about that museum when we're exploring Florida. Now, speaking of museums.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go from the Wild Wild West to the Hill Aerospace Museum. So now we're getting very modern. It's open 7 days a week from 9 to 4:30, and this is the best. It's free.
That's my kind of...
It's free.
That's my deal.
I love to go to museums that are free. Now, they say they're free, but a lot of times they'll ask for a donation, which is fine.
Well, yeah,
it's fine, but it is free. Technically, it's free. Mm-hmm. The mission of the Hill Aerospace Museum is to portray the history of Hill Air Force Base and its tenant organizations and the assignment of the Ogden Air Logistics Center. Isn't that cool? So if you're into aviation and all of that, which I know my husband is, this museum offers some of these exhibits. World War II, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
The dawn of the jet age, the Cold War, keeping the peace, Utah Aviation Hall, women Air Force service pilots. This is very big. And the American aerospace pioneers. Again, there's that word pioneer.
Wow.
So this is, you know, we've gone from the Wild Wild West to now Aerospace Museum. And this is all in Utah.
In Ogden.
In Ogden.
Okay. Now, you've got a lot of this on your blog, right?
Yes, I'm going to be showing pictures on my blog. I'll be putting it on my blog, and my blog is real easy. It's zeemichaelson.blogspot.com. And we'll have connections and links, and, you know, they can link to us all, and they can see it.
From Salt Lake City to Ogden to the great things that are happening in the state.
Right. And again, in Ogden, you have a lot of hiking trails. Tons of hiking trails and vistas and waterfalls. You have Birdsong Trail, which is really easy to hike. If you want a moderate trail, you have Indian Trail, and you have Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Now, if you're really an adventurous hiker, then you have a strenuous one, which is Waterfall Canyon, Ben Lomond Peak. So you have some more. So they got different stages of different things.
Okay, so you'll have that all listed on your blog.
Right, I'll have it on my blog. I'll have links to certain areas so they can take a peek. Now we're going to move from Ogden to Cedar City. Okay. Now, Cedar City, not a lot of people have heard of Cedar City. Have you heard of it?
No.
See, I told you. There are so many different things to do in Utah. It's amazing. Cedar City is the perfect all-around Utah adventure city.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, you can enjoy everything from Shakespeare to mountain biking.
Ah.
So that's quite the reach. You have national parks to powder skiing, from hiking trails to shopping and spas. You know me, I love to spa.
Yes.
Now, William Shakespeare would find himself at home in Cedar City, Utah. It's the home of Utah's extravagant Shakespearean festival.
Okay.
I love Shakespeare.
Good. I'll leave you in Cedar City.
Right. While you go skiing, I'll watch the
You'll
Shakespearean
see me,
plays.
You'll see me in Ogden at the museum.
Now, each summer, visitors come from all corners to participate in this event and to tour the scenic Cedar Breaks National Monument. So you have all of that, and other folks come to experience the mountain biking at Bryan Head. In the winter, Bryan Head transforms into one of Utah's great ski resorts. There's more skiing.
Skiing.
And again, there is a university, Southern Utah University.
Will you tell me more about skiing next time on the podcast?
Next time we'll go into some of their ski resorts, so you'll know which ones and who has powder and how long the powder stays. And all
we'll
of that
see
fun
you,
stuff.
Bunny, at the Bunny.
Well, you know me. I don't go skiing. I go lodging.
Right.
I lodge.
Okay, so the blog, you're on the podcast,
and you can like me on Facebook
and Twitter,
and you can tweet me at Zee Michaelson. You know, the little at symbol at Zee Michaelson. You can tweet me. You can follow me on Twitter. I do tips on Twitter a lot of times for traveling. As a matter of fact, I picked up another tip the other day.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to have to put that on my tweet.
Follow Zee on her
Twitter and Facebook.
Follow her on her twit.
Tweet.
Yeah. All right. I've got to say this one more time. You are a travel agent, right?
I am a travel agent.
And we find you at?
ZeeMichelsonTravel.com.
All right. Until next time, I'm Jay Lawrence.
And this is Zee Michelson helping you rediscover America.